Hello, it's me. I am Kaniski, and I would love to be doing a live labor and delivery vlog. That is what I hoped the entire pregnancy I'd be able to do, but life happened, shit happened, and it's not gonna happen. That whole live birth vlog, we missed that opportunity altogether, and I'm going to explain why in just a moment, but I did want to still take a moment to honor the birth of my last child, my third child, my first daughter, and I wanted to explain how everything went and what led me to an emergency C-section. Camilla Janelle, my daughter, was born October 15th, 3 weeks ago. She was born via emergency C-section. Beautiful baby girl. She was born at 39 weeks and 4 days, so just a few days away from her due date. She came into the world on a Monday morning. My first labor pain was felt at 11:45, and I really wanted to have her naturally. I had looked into Hypno-Birthing, read the book. There were no classes that I could attend here, but I did spent a lot of time educating myself on Hypno-Birthing, learning the terminology, learning some of the breathing techniques. It worked for me for about the first hour. Also, taking a warm shower did help alleviate my pain. I'm not going to say hypnobirthing is complete trash because it's not, but it did not work for me the way I needed it to. It only worked for about the first hour. My labor went really, really quickly. First labor pain 11:45. She was born at 5:15. So my labor went quickly. She was turned sunny side up. So her face was facing my stomach versus facing my back or my spine. So I had really intense back labor. And I don't even know all the reasons why it didn't work. I'll take the blame and say maybe I didn't do something right. But for whatever reason, hypnobirthing did not work for me. And I'm glad I only spent the money buying the book versus buying all the workbooks or going to the classes, because I don't think even if I hadn't did the complete everything out there full program, I don't think it would have worked as well for me. So, first labor pain 11:45. Was very optimistic. Was gonna drive myself to the hospital, but within an hour I was screaming and yelling at my husband and my child, "We gotta go!" I rode to the hospital at breakneck speed on my knees. That was the only halfway comfortable position, was being on my knees. I made notes. I don't leave out anything. Being on my hands and knees was the best position for me. We arrived at the hospital around 1:30, and I was screaming bloody murder. I'm not going to even go into how bad my behavior was. It was not a great moment in my life. Let's just say that. By 2:15, the anesthesiologist finally, because those minutes felt like hours. But the anesthesiologist finally gave me my epidural about 2:15. And I calmed down enough to ask him, how everything was going, if if we were okay, if my epidural took. He was quiet at first, and he finally answered me and said, "This is the worst epidural I've ever done." And I'm like, well, did I do something wrong, or, did you mess up? And he finally said, "You cut up worse than anybody I've ever seen in 15 years. And it really kind of broke the tension in the room. Everybody, my mom, my husband, I laughed, and all the nursing staff, we really laughed. But I say that only to say I had a really, really, really quick and really intense labor. It was no easing into it. After that first hour, it was worst pain ever. There was nothing I could do. It didn't take all day. I didn't transition slowly. So he broke my water about 2:15, and a little over an hour after he broke my water, things started to go a little crazy. My blood pressure started to drop, and the situation started kind of intensifying. I started going downhill, and I remember just shivering, which is a side effect of the epidural. But I started shivering. I wasn't cold, but I was just shaking. And my blood pressure dropped, and simultaneously the baby's heart rate started to drop. And this was about 3:30ish in the morning. And I remember them just giving me bags of fluid, just several fluid boluses. I probably had somewhere in the neighborhood of 3 to 4 bags of IV fluids, like 1,000 cc bags of IV fluid, which I'm going to mention what happened with that later, because that caused me problems down the road having so much fluid. But I'll talk about that at the end. But I had a lot of fluid. They even gave me what sounds like ephedrine. And they maxed me out on the dose that they can take. And still my blood pressure just would not come up. It was still bottoming out. And I'm the type of person to where, you know, you start doing all these interventions. I'm asking questions. I want to know what you're doing. Tell me my vitals. What's my baby's heart rate? I need to know. I'm one of them type of people when it comes to my health. But the situation was so tense, and it went so fast that I felt instinctively something is not right. And I didn't have a lot of time to ask a lot of questions or get a lot of information. I just knew things were going downhill really, really quick for both me and my baby. So at about 4:15, it was actually 4:12 in the morning exactly, the doctor came in and he broke my water. At that time, I was 8 centimeters. So from the time I got to the hospital, when I arrived at the hospital, actually I was 4 to 5 centimeters with a bulging bag. So that was only about 2 hours of labor. I had already made it to 4 to 5 centimeters. Well, what was that? Another couple of hours, another few hours after that, at 4:15, I was already at that time 8 centimeters. So from 11:45 to 4:15, I made it to 8 centimeters. The doctor broke my water. And when he broke my water, he noticed that the baby still had not dropped into the birth canal, and we were still having problems with our vital signs. The nurses were positioning me on my left side. They were putting their hands in my vagina and, you know, trying to stimulate the baby and make sure, you know, everything was good down there. And for some reason, we just weren't responding very well. So I want to say about 5 o'clock in the morning, the doctor came in. He said, look, we need to make some decisions really quick because y'all aren't doing that great. And again, I'm kind of an argumentative person. I like to plead my case. Let's talk about different options. It just didn't happen like that for me. I knew that this was something we needed to do fairly quickly. So I gave him the thumbs up. I really wasn't even talking. I remember looking at my mom and feeling like I'm never going to see my mom again. Y'all, like, I'm not being dramatic. It was a really scary situation. And I've had 3 epidurals, and I've never had any reaction to the epidural. I'm not sure what happened. But they took me on into the operating room and very quickly prepped me for surgery. Everything went smoothly with the C-section itself. When they pulled my daughter out, I didn't know that they had took her out. I didn't hear her cry. I didn't hear anything. And I finally heard them patting her on the back, and I'm like, is she out? What's going on? And unfortunately, my daughter had meconium staining. So, I'm sorry. When I look back and think about it, it is a little bit emotional for me because it was a lot to take in. You know, I thought I was going to go in and have a normal vaginal delivery naturally, and I ended up having a C-section. My daughter had meconium staining. They didn't even lift her up over the little curtain, you know, like you see on all the videos. They lift her up and like, here's your daughter. None of that. They really had to work with her to get her breathing. And they took her onto the NICU. My husband did get a few pictures of her when she first came out. She was 7 pounds, 14 ounces, 20 inches long, beautiful, you know, head of hair. And off to the NICU she went. I saw her for a brief moment, and I gave this, you know, ugly cry. My lips were dry and chapped, and I was a hot mess. So she was born at 5:19 in the morning. And after they got me stitched up and prepared and ready to go, I went back to my labor room, or my room. I would have labored and delivered all in one room had it not been for surgery. So I remember not being able to walk or get out of my bed or do anything until about 12 o'clock noon. So about 12 o'clock, I finally got to go hold my daughter. So I went 7 hours without being able to hold my daughter. And I guess if she hadn't have been in NICU and she could have been in the room with me and my husband, it would have been different. But since she was a NICU baby, she had to go. They kept her in the NICU for 5 days. They needed to rule out infections, so they were doing cultures on her every day to make sure she didn't have any infections because of the meconium. Hardest part of this whole thing was going home without my daughter. Um, Not an easy thing at all. Even though she only stayed, I try not to complain because she was only there for 2 days. But going home without my child was the hardest part of this whole situation. We got ready to take her home. We think everything's good. We come in to pick her up on a Saturday, thinking finally we go home. We get to finally have our daughter. Well, they're doing a hearing test on her as we're leaving. She fails the hearing test in both ears. And I was literally devastated. And it was just everything I could do to pack her stuff up and just get her home. And they referred us to an audiologist for further testing. Long story short, though, a week or so later, we did go see the specialist. She passed the hearing test, but just the words of the wise, I found out once we got to the specialist that children who have meconium staining are at a higher risk for having hearing loss because they can go for a period of time without breathing oxygen, which could cause brain damage. So thank God that she can hear and she passed her second test, but that's just something, you know, that I never knew. In all my years of being a parent, I never knew that. So the only thing after that point, after that long week of unexpected things, the only thing that happened after that is that I say about a week and a half or so of me being home, I noticed that I was having problems breathing. You know, I'd just be walking around the house and I get short of breath and, you know, just have to catch my breath. And I was also having a sharp chest pain that was coming and going. So I called my OBGYN. They said go to the emergency room. I finally went. Come to find out I had pulmonary edema, which is pretty much fluid on my lungs, because I had so much fluid. My legs were really, really, really swollen. My feet were really, really huge. And I knew that I was swelling more than I thought I should. But everybody, the nursing staff and doctors kept saying it'll go down. It's normal. This happens a lot postpartum. But in my case, all that fluid that they gave me when I was in labor and delivery, they were trying to get my blood pressure up, it came back to bite me. So I ended up having to be on Lasix, which means I was running to the bathroom it was just like it was worse than being pregnant again. I was going to the bathroom a lot, but it really did help me get rid of a lot of that fluid that I had. So that in 13 minutes is the story of Camilla Janelle's triumphant entrance into this world. I'm just so happy to have her home. She's been doing great. We're breastfeeding. She's not really having any problems, you know. She wakes up at night like a normal baby to eat, but she's not keeping us up. She'll eat and go back to sleep. So I don't have too many complaints, and I'm just happy that it's that it's over with. I just want to encourage and, you know, invite everyone to please subscribe to my channel, because I'm really looking forward to sharing this journey. And again, I hate that I couldn't get the whole, you know, pregnancy or delivery on video, but at the moment of all that pain, the last thing I was thinking about was get out the camera and put this on a video. And from the way everybody said I acted, it probably did not need to be seen. It's probably bad enough to just talk about it, because it was pretty rough. But thanks for watching, and I do want to invite you to catch my next video, which will be about the C-section recovery, which was a journey all by itself. This was my first C-section, and I do have a lot to say about that. So make sure you subscribe, because Camilla and I, my family, we are looking forward to sharing the rest of this journey. Thank you for watching. Thank you for watching. Thank you for watching.